Hey guys, hope you're doing all well. Looking forward to getting back into the classroom next week and showing you now our last video math lesson until I am officially back. Do now today, similar to the past couple, grab a pencil, grab a notebook, and today we're going to do 2-7, analyze linear equations. We're going to use this template of a formula here, equation y equals mx. All right, so while the video is playing, use this time to take some notes so that you can use them in later sections. Okay? All right, let's look at our objectives for today. Students will be able to, by the way, 2-7, analyze linear straight line equations. The variable y equals m as the slope, x as the other variable. Understand how the constant of proportionality and the slope relate in a linear equation. Students will be able to write and graph a linear equation in the form y equals mx. So we're going to write an equation. You're going to write a second equation, and then we'll even look to see if we can write and graph before looking at your asynchronous work. Okay. Let's dive in. All right, so here we used this part last week using similar triangles. Remember the rise over the run? This week, we are going to look to derive this part, derive the equation y equals mx for a line through the origin. After that, we're going to do later. Okay. I think that's it. So that's that for today. All right. So we're going to use this formula very often, and it's pretty easy to start. Y is always going to be in your equation. X is always going to be in your equation. The only thing we're going to fill in with a number is your slope. Okay, and we know how to calculate slope. That's what we did last week, and we looked at it for proportional relationships the week prior. So let's do it. We got the graph relates the number of gallons of white paint, so there's our white paint on the X, to the number of gallons of red paint. So maybe we're making a little pink paint form. Oh yeah, it's used to make the perfect pink. Write an equation that describes this relationship. So when you're doing this, here's what you're going to do today. You're going to start with this formula always, and you're going to just fill in one part of it, just this one, and that's the slope. And we should know how to find slope a couple different ways, and hopefully we can review that through this video. Over here is our graph that they're showing us. So maybe let's try it both ways, right? If you can watch my mouse, I'm going to use the rise over the run. Slope is the rise, how much the line rises over how much it runs. So I might notice these 2 points right here where my mouse is, 0, 0. And here's another good point right over here where it hits that little part of the grid, 4, 1. So if we kind of draw our triangle with our mouse, look at up, 1, the rise is 1. The run is 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units. It runs to 4. So there is our slope, 1/4. If you don't believe me and you're like, Mr. Gallucci, I don't like that rise over run business. I really like the slope formula. Well, okay. Here's our 2 points. 0, 0 is this one, right where my mouse is. And then the other point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 4, 1. Remember from last week. First x I see, x1. First y I see, y1. Second x, x2. Second y, y2. And then just plug them in. Y2 is the number 1. Y1 is 0. X2, 4. X1, 0. Do some subtraction, and look at that. We can use both ways, and we get the same slope, 1/4. So the way you're going to answer this question, the way you're going to write an equation that describes this relationship is y, the number of gallons of red paint, is equal to 1/4 the number of gallons of white paint. And that's your answer. So when you're writing equations, y is part of the equation, x is part of the equation. Let's see. 1, here's a fraction right down here. Whoops. Fraction 1/4 x. Let's check it out. Bada boom, bada boom. Fantastic. All right. So not much new stuff today. You're really getting work practicing writing equations. And the way you're going to write the equations is find the slope and then put that number for slope in where m is. Okay. Let's get to the next one. All right. Moving the paper up, moving it up. Here's number 2. It says, the graph shows a proportional relationship. Why is it proportional? Hopefully you remember because it goes through 0, 0. It's a proportional relationship between the variables y and x. It wants us to, here's our goal for the day, write an equation to model the relationship using pencil and paper. Explain how you know there is a proportional relation. I already answered that part for you. Explain how you know there is a proportional relationship if you are given an equation or a graph. If it's a graph, it better be going through that 0, 0 if it's proportional. All right, so we just got to find slope, ladies and gentlemen. So you have options here. You can use the similar triangles. You can use the slope formula. Again, I always like this way because if you have a graph, it works. If you don't have a graph, it works very well. So I'm going to use that just to sort of get us used to that in case later on we don't have graphs. So what do? Same thing each time. I write down the formula. Hopefully by now you wrote it so much that you memorized it. And then we're going to pick 2 coordinates. And we can call this x1, y1, x2, y2. So the coordinates you want to pick are always the ones that sort of meet the, like I wouldn't pick this one on the line, even though it's a point on the line. It's got to sort of meet those, like if you're thinking of the Call of Duty games, what do they call that? The little, you guys are like saying it right now, but I don't know. The crosshair, right? Yeah, that's it. The crosshair. So where they sort of meet the corners of the graph. All right, so let's pick, I don't know, 6 is my favorite number. So 6 is the x. Let's see. 132 is the y. And I'm going to be smart and strategic here. Maybe I'm not. Hopefully you think about maybe picking this good point, 0, 0. But let's say I didn't. Let's pretend I wasn't thinking. I just kind of went with it. Maybe the next one I pick is 8 176. I'm going to put those into the formula here. 176 minus y1, which is 132. X2 is going to be 8. And x1 is going to be 6. Hey Siri. What is 176 take away 132? I'm being lazy, guys.
176 minus 132 is 44.
Thank you very much, Siri. 8 minus 6 is 2. And if we can, when we get our slope, if we can simplify so both of these numbers are divisible by 2, we should always, always, always do that. So 44 divided by 2 is 22, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. And you remember that last video, they were really picky with us. When it's a fraction over 1, they like us to just put it as a whole number. So it looks like our slope is 22. Anybody know that Taylor Swift song, I'm feeling 22? No, that's terrible singing. I apologize. So when we write equations, what part are we going to fill in? We're going to leave y alone. We're going to leave the x in there, and we're going to fill in m as our slope, which again looks like it's 22. So it looks like in our notes, our equation that we're going to type into realize is going to be y equals 22x. Check it out, check it out. Oh, it's an S, not an X. Check it. Well done. Da, 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 da. So hopefully you're understanding that for now, writing equations can be pretty easy. As long as you can find the slope. Okay. We're going to do one more, and I think we're going to do, what do we want to do? Which one? All right, let's do this one where there's no graph. It's a little bit different. So let's get my notebook set up. And this is number 5 in the realize, but it can be number 3 to you. That's fine. We're going to write an equation, same idea. For part A, we're going to write the equation of the line that describes the relationship between the distance and the time. X. So if we're picturing a graph, X would be like this. X is the number of time in hours. Y that goes up and down is our distance in miles. And then we're going to say, what does the graph represent between distance and time for car X, right? So, well, we have a very little piece of information. Car X travels 186 miles in 3 hours. So hopefully you remember how to set this up. Do I put 3 on the top? Do I put 186 on bottom? Or do I do the reverse of that? And that answer is, remember, when you're dealing with measurements of time, it always belongs on the bottom. So because 3 hours is a time, we're going to put 3 hours. We're going to put 186 miles, and we're going to calculate a unit rate. Unit rate means 1 hour. We're going to divide it by 3. We're going to divide it by 3. Hey Siri, what is 186 divided by 3?
186 divided by 3 is 62.
Thank you, Siri. Always be nice to Siri. I've learned the hard way. So this car X is traveling 62 miles each hour, 62 miles per hour. Okay, so that is our m, that is our slope. So I'm writing the equations again, and again, like, be quiet, we already know this, Mr. G. You're gonna fill in just the m part of this equation with your slope of 62. And let's check that out for part A. Remember, sometimes if it's over 1, they don't like that fraction, so put it as a whole number. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh boy. And now we got one part left to end this lesson. Now we know this equation. We're going to try to connect it to the graph. Which is the correct graph below? Dun, 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 dun. So let's do a little process of elimination here, right? Let's hopefully you can tell I don't like A, because look at 3 hours, 186 miles, 3 hours, 213. It can't be A, process of elimination. For the same reason, it doesn't look like it can be B, because 3 hours, 114, not bueno, no bueno. So it's either C or D. And let's see here. Oh boy. I don't know if that's 186. I don't know if 3 hours right here is 186. So let me think here. If we kept driving 62 miles per hour and we see the numbers 4 here, let's look at if we were to drive 4 hours. I'm getting dangerous in writing in pen here. If we were to substitute the x number with 4, let's see what we would get. 62 miles each hour times 4 hours. Hey Siri. Hey Siri. Is she not listening to me? What is 62 times 4? I don't know why she's not talking, but she is on the screen. 62 times 4 is 248 miles. So see how I did that there? I wasn't sure if it was C or D, so I noticed 4 was labeled on the graph. And by process of elimination here, it looks like C has to be the answer, because in 4 miles we should have driven 248 answers. Fingers crossed, ladies and gentlemen. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So that is all. Let's go back to sort of the goal for today. The goal for today was this part: derive meaning a fancy word like write or find. Write or find the equation y equals mx for a line through the origin. I think we did very good there. Whoops, wrong one. Before I go there, write and graph linear equations in the form y equals mx. So hopefully you now understand when it says write an equation, only one number gets substituted for m. Y stays part of your equation, x does. And that is all I have for today. You're going to have some asynchronous work that is available once this video ends, or the next day you meet. So 2-7, Math Excel for School, additional practice, 2-7 lesson quiz. I really, really appreciate you guys watching these videos, doing your very best, so that when I come back, we can talk about what you learned, what you had trouble on, and anything else that I can help with. Again, thank you so much. I will see you very, very shortly. Please have a good night. Take care.